Sam, please welcome Scott, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. I was half expecting a photo to appear on the screen that Mr. McKechnie still apparently, quite weirdly, has on his phone of a flood rescue. Good morning, everybody. First and foremost, thank you, Uncle Len, for the welcome to country. And I would, being on Kamilaroi land, it's only fitting that we remember Mick Miller. So if we just take a minute's silence for that great man who's sadly no longer with us, was a state councillor and a dear friend. Thank you. I remember his funeral, and you know the area was quite dry at the time, and it rained on the day of his funeral. We've had some wet weather around, and you know, for us to come onto his land, we've had beautiful weather while we've been here. So Mick is clearly with us, keeping an eye on us, as he does always. Good morning and welcome to the 2025 RFSA conference. I'd like to acknowledge the Minister for Emergency Services, Mr Jihad Dib, Kevin Anderson, MP, Member for Tamworth, representing Gurmesh Singh, Shadow Minister for the Emergency Services, RFS Commissioner Rod Rogers, AFSM, Deputy Commissioner Kyle Stewart, APM, Deputy Commissioner Peter McKechnie, AFSM, RFSA board members, state councillors and of course delegates. I'd also like to thank Andrew, our MC. At our last conference, he signed on for the next 10 years, and we'll just remind him of that 10 years just in case he forgot, of being the MC of our conferences for nothing. You will, by the end of the conference, you'll agree with me that he is a very skillful person. He's very knowledgeable. He spends a lot of time learning about the association and all of us. And tonight he will even make that gala dinner that will already be exceptional. He will add his touch and flair and make it even better. So thank you again, Andrew, for your commitment to the association. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Colson Aviation, and the welcome reception last night at 4 Mile. So we can give those people a round of applause, please. I'd also like to acknowledge some amazing people. Our conference organising committee from the RFSA board, Vicky Bingley, and I'm sure some of these people are hiding on the outside. Yeah, of course she is, she's hiding. Brian Miller, David Stimson, Glenda Howell and Leah Ross, and the CEO, Sharon Ellicott, and our Policy and Governance Manager, Greg Desmond. If you're around, can you stand up, please? Come on, stand up. And all you other people hiding on the wings. So not only do these people, RFS volunteers, obviously they volunteer their time for the association, they put their hand up to volunteer even more time with the association to be on the board. And then 18 months ago we made this crazy decision that we would run the conference ourselves. We wouldn't involve any outside agencies who are experts at this. We thought we can do this and we can put on a fabulous show for our people, and I know we will deliver that. We've got you here that was the biggest part. We've got you accommodated. We got you fed last night and we welcomed you. And I think you'll agree our speakers over the next 2 days are absolutely amazing. Not to put over any others, but I think, you know, Jana Pittman's story, when you hear that, is just phenomenal. And tomorrow, our young endeavour, and I'm going to call them kids, but they're not kids, they're young adults, they're the future of the RFS. When you listen to their experiences on this ship, I'll be corrected eventually, on a ship or a boat. But one of those stories, and we'll probably touch on it a little bit more tomorrow, but Natalie Wendt, who's a staff member from down at Sutherland, an Oppo 1, and she's not here, so I can give a little bit of her story, but she they wanted this authentic crossing of Bass Strait from Hobart to Sydney, and what they got coming through Bass Strait was 5+ metre waves. The gauge on the side that measures the tilt is set at 50 degrees. It stayed there for most of the crossing. She talked herself into being seasick by taking 100 seasick tablets, and I think she'd used all of those, and quite proudly, or not proudly, speaks of how many times she did lose her food on that trip across Bass Strait. So what these kids, young adults, show and bring, I think you'll agree if you get to talk to them over the next couple of days, is just phenomenal. And whilst we will acknowledge that again tomorrow, it's something that we're really proud that we can continue to do. And of course, I must, and I hope she's online, but I also must acknowledge the wonderful Jodie O'Neill. She's not here in person. That's because after 13 years with the RFSA, and you would have all had dealings with Jodie, she decided that it was time to transition into retirement. And I wish her all the very best. And again, if you could, I'm sure she's online, but if we could just, by an applause, show our gratitude for Jodie, please. I think what we shared, and again, we've all known Jodie for such a long time, but our flood tour, where we did the 12 nights and 12 towns, we all as a group bonded quite strongly, and yeah, we definitely miss Jodie and what she brings to the association. Now, as you probably all know, I can speak for an hour, and I'm probably going to try not to do that today, so I'll just stick to my speech from here on in if I can. Well, we'll probably digress slightly. But anyway, here we go. Look, what an experience I've had since our last conference. Those that know me from various incident grounds as a brigade captain, group officer, know all too well that I'm a magnet for the worst case scenarios. Every time, in fact, brigades back home know if I'm there, it's probably going to turn to custard at some point. And it's a proud thing to be able to, have people, as most of you know, on an incident ground that is not the safest or best place, and to bring all those people home. And sadly, that isn't always the case. But it's because generally, well, not generally, all the time, I trusted the ability of the brigades, particularly my own, and didn't hesitate to implement some pretty strong strategies that meant outcomes could be achieved. But we had to work for it, and that comes down to knowing your people and their abilities, and knowing the crews can put in a decent sized burn and do it safely and keep it where it's meant to be, I think is something that as a divisional commander groupie, I think is something that we can teach far better. Knowing the crew's abilities, knowing those super efficient at mopping up, can identify problems, deal with it, and the all-important part, that patrol crew who ensured that it stays in the box each and every time. I'd like to think, and sometimes, the best laid plans always don't come to fruition, and often, Darren, one of my good mates, he's here, said to me once, you don't seem to fail, and I said, I always fail, I just have more than one backup plan. And I think that's something that we need to do. It doesn't matter what we do, have a backup plan, have a reserve backup plan, and then have a plan D. And somewhere along the line, I'll digress slightly because that's what I'll do. If a groupie puts in or gets you to do something and you can't pull it off, it's because they didn't give you enough time, enough space, and their expectations were too high. I'd like to think that I had control of those situations and all its bits and bobs. Well, last August, that was all taken away. I had to put my trust in people that I didn't know to keep me alive. Thankfully, they did. After a complex but necessary operation went terribly wrong, long story short, 5 operations, 12 days in 2 separate ICUs, 3 months in 2 separate hospitals, I went home. A little broken, but alive. Here I was, very confident fireground leader, Kokoda trekking guide that loves taking people across one of the top 5 most remote tracks in the world, to someone who was only just able to walk around the ward. Had some testing times, and only just last week again spent another 7 days in the Nepean hospital. This time temperatures that went from 35 to 41, and just didn't know whether I was actually going to get here today, but I did. And if anybody needs to go out and grab a sports coat from Tamworth, I can certainly show you and point you in the right direction for a fabulous shop, because there is one here. But nonetheless, the hospitals here, I'm going to give a shout out to the Nepean Hospital, because the doctors there who looked after me were absolutely amazing, and they could find the missing piece of the puzzle that hopefully ensures a full 100% recovery. But we've got a long way to go, and a lot of antibiotics and a lot of probiotics, and we will move forward, that is for sure. But in saying all that, over the last 2 years, some of our people haven't been so lucky, and we've lost some great friends through fireground incidents, workplace cancers and other illnesses. And there's not a day go by that that we don't remember our colleagues and our friends that didn't come home. And you know, one of those things I remember clearly was my birthday, and the Commissioner called me to say that Leo Franson had been killed. And to hear that in Rob's voice, this man cares about his volunteers. He really does. There is one thing, though, that we will all belong, and we all belong to 3 families. That is our immediate family, the extended family of the RFS, and of course the RFSA. We all share that familiarity that is our brand. You see someone in PPC or an RFSA t-shirt and we say hello. Doesn't know if we met them before or not. We have that instant connection. It's like we've known them for years, and in many cases we do. And as we've seen in the past 2 weeks, our state has again been impacted by disaster, and our people have stood up en masse to assist our communities, just like they did when Tropical Cyclone Alfred threatened the North Coast and the destruction that came with that event. The devastating fires of 2019-20, the floods of 22, or just when your active goes off to alert us of a job that is a daily occurrence in an RFS volunteer's life. You know, how often do we hear or see in the media that the Commissioner is called on to explain the numbers and that we are a dad's army? Yet when there is a need for hundreds, if not thousands, to be activated, it's the men and women of the RFS that act, many giving up their paid employment and time with their families to go to the assistance of a stranger. We act out of necessity, we act out of a need to help the people who are experiencing their worst day, and yet we ask very little in return. Our theme for this conference is to engage, advocate and support. And you may hear things that test your thinking, and I hope you do. But instead of dismissing the ideas, please ask yourself, why is their thinking different to mine? We have many levels to our organisation, all with one common goal, a superior fire service with the safest equipment and appliances, the best mental health strategies and the best protection in terms of workers' compensation. We are not paid, and to have these things supplied by the government is essential. The fact that we have Minister Dibb here is a testament to the government's commitment to not only the RFS but the RFSA. My role as President is an important one, and in advocating on our membership to ensure we are not forgotten cousins when it comes to budgets and supplying those things that we need to continue to operate as a high-performing emergency service. Whilst we wait for the impairment payment disparity to be rectified and presumptive cancer legislation to be increased to cover such things as female reproductive and lung cancers, melanoma, to name a few. For presumptive legislation for PTSD to be implemented, our members continue to serve the communities that they live in with very little fuss. In an environment that sees RFS volunteers responding to all manner of incidents and the complexity of those becoming more challenging, we see our people being relied upon more often. Whether that's working with other agencies because we simply have more people in the field, appropriate appliances and IMT expertise, we are making huge impacts in disaster response. Our brand is trusted in the community, and we live in those communities that we serve. It's more than a job, it's a necessity. What we as an organisation bring to the table as a workforce, both career and volunteer, is not equalled. The compassion, the drive, the empathy of our members are not traits that can be taught. They are a trait that comes naturally, but is also something that is nurtured by culture, a culture in which we support one another and we support the community. We lift each other up when things aren't going so well, and is our culture perfect? No, it's not. But without strength, we wouldn't be able to achieve half the things that we do for our community. And culture is something that we work on every day. And just remember that standard that you walk past is the standard that you accept. And I'll make that call that if we have bad behaviour from anybody in our organisation, call it out. Okay, we need to put a foot down on that and stop it. The RFSA is focused on opportunities to make the RFS even stronger, and through our working groups, consultative committees and advocacy, we are working with the RFS to ensure that the full experience for volunteers is the best we can deliver. For example, the complaint resolution framework and the impending health standards all need to be workable for everybody, not just those brigades that have huge numbers to draw on, but the rural brigades where mum, dad and the family make up the brigade. Training needs to have the rural put back in it, and structure fires MVAs happen across the state, not just near cities. A common occurrence outside of major towns, training needs to ensure that the skills to respond to these incidents are achievable for all, particularly those brigades that fill their membership out of necessity, not just because it's an exhilarating hobby. It's that need that sees the RFSA board have a strong appetite to sponsor many volunteer events and training exercises. It's through these exercises, both at district and area command level, and the opportunities developed skill sets are delivered broadly to ensure our members have the skills to deal with the growing diversity of jobs that we are attending. Through a strong board and skilled staff, we have seen the RFSA itself continue to grow. Our chaplaincy fund, scholarships, brigade grants, as well as many other programs, including Section 44 support and now our new disaster support, which because we are, I think over the last week we've put another 1,000 shirts into the field through Kempsey, Taree, Port Macquarie, the Lower Hunter, and also with McDonald's being put on at those places as well fairly quickly. You can all be assured as well that over 90% of our net raffle income is given back to members and the staff that deliver those programs. Our partners, 4 Mile, who sponsor the welcome reception, continue to deliver the very best in cyber security, ensuring the safety of all our databases, the best practice in terms of call centre operations, and of course they are Australian based. Remember, unlike our fellow associations in other states, we are not funded by the government or membership fees. Everything we do for our members is dependent on fundraising. Our conference promises to showcase all the wonderful things that our association provides, and our speakers will test you and make you think of different ways that we can engage, advocate and support. We have presentations by RFS staff who will inform us about the latest technology, and a display by our friends at Heritage with Yowie. If you haven't gone out to see Yowie's trucks yet, and just point out to him that the Blitz is probably the best truck he's got out there in his feet. But that's where our amazing part of our history, and that's where it all began. Make sure you visit the trade exhibition and engage with our people that have supported this conference. And finally, we are fortunate enough to share this time together. Have a great conference, and thank you for coming.